Hey guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we are doing my April audiobook wrap-up. So, if you guys aren't familiar, I do 2 wrap-ups every month. I do a physical reading wrap-up and an audiobook wrap-up. I will link my physical reading wrap-up up here in the little cards. You can click that little eye and you can watch that one first if you want. But for today, we are doing only the books I listen to on audio. As you may have seen from yesterday's reading wrap-up, I only read 4 things. I didn't really do that great. However, I listened to 9 things in April. I'm only going to be talking about 8 of them because I listened to Define Me like the first 2 days of April and I threw that in my March audiobook wrap-up. So we're only going to be talking about 8, but technically I read 9 audiobooks. I had an amazing audiobook month for the most part. I really enjoyed almost everything that I listened to. So first we're going to talk about the fact that I posted that April Barnes & Noble TBR video. If you guys don't know, I had an April TBR video where I posted pictures of Barnes & Noble's shelves that I took, mostly their fantasy shelves. You guys voted on a shelf and I was supposed to read books off that shelf. Now, I had no intentions of reading only books off of that shelf. I had too many other things that I wanted to get to and get done. And my goal was to technically read like 4 to 6 through physical reading and audiobooks. I wound up reading 4 in total, 1 physical read and 3 audiobooks. So I kind of hit the goal. It was a lot less than I was wanting it to be for a couple of reasons. One, it was actually kind of hard for me to find the audiobooks specifically from that shelf because a lot of them were newer and extremely popular, and so they just didn't come in on overdrive in time for me to listen to them. 2, they're all fantasy books, and I just halfway through the month I was kind of over fantasy and I wanted to throw some other things that were more themed around what I was doing, which you'll see in a minute. My moods changed and other things came in that I was borrowing, and so I changed it up. But I did read 3. When I'm talking about them, I will mention that that was from that shelf. So I promise I will do better in my TBR videos in the future. That is why I only filmed a Scallywagathon TBR for this month, so that I would kind of stay closer to that TBR, because I'm doing a piratey readathon here in the next couple of days. So I'm really excited about it, and we'll go back to our regular scheduled TBRs in June. Okay, first we're going to talk about The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. I finally finished my Narnia journey. I have no idea why this took so long. I think I got discouraged when I didn't finish them in February, and then I just kept dragging them out. They're like 200 pages, like 4-hour audiobooks, and it just took me forever. This one is narrated by Patrick Stewart, which was quite exciting. However, I might have just been that I wasn't in the mood for him and I was kind of making myself finish them. I hadn't read this one before. I really enjoyed some of them a lot, partially for nostalgic reasons. I really enjoyed the first one. It might have been the narrator, it might have just been the book itself. I love the series as a whole. I think it's brilliant, but it has an older writing style, and on audiobook it could be tough, especially depending on the narrator. Partially because based more for kids, because it is a middle grade series, and the voices that they would do for like the Reepicheep mouse and like the different woodland characters and stuff were just a little bit more on the like kiddish side, which I hate saying because I love a lot of kid books, but for some reason it got to me on this one. It was just more like annoying and a little bit jarring. Even Patrick Stewart, who's great, I just didn't like completely adore narrating the audiobooks, so I'm kind of glad to be done. I gave this one 3 stars. It might have been tainted by my like forcing myself to read it, so I still love the series as a whole. Can't wait to watch the TV show. I'll probably reread them again in the future. There's a magical other place called Narnia that kids wind up going to and having adventures. That's like the gist of it if you're not familiar with it. Then the first book that I read from that April TBR shelf was House of Furies by Madeleine Roux. Oh my god. I freaking loved this. I loved this. The only qualm that I had was that this is a gothic horror Victorian era book, and I wished that I would have saved them for fall because it was so creepy in the best way, and just it reminded me of The Madman's Daughter and The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein and all of those things that I really love. And apparently I just freaking love gothic horror. I had no idea, because when people talk about horror, I just like immediately think like Stephen King and like super gory and really scary, and it's not. It's like creepy and intense and dark, but it's not terrifying and crazily gory or anything like that, although there was like some crazy scenes in here. I freaking love this. So originally I knew that this was a fae story, and I knew that something happened in the house, this like old Victorian house. So we have Louisa, our lead character, who's kind of like out on her own and trying to earn money in like not the best ways on the street, and she winds up getting picked up from this old lady who's like, I have a job for you. Ends up following her to Cold Thistle House with this whole cast of characters and Mr. Morningside or Morningstar, who runs the whole place, and she's basically just going to be like a maid and clean things up, and then she finds out all these mysterious things, and some of them involve the Fae and some of them involve death and drama, and oh, it's so good. There are like ghosts and magic and creepy shadow people and fairies, but in a completely different way than I've read before. I loved it. I completely fell in love with these characters. I love Louisa. I liked all the people in the house. I liked just everybody. It was so good, and the things that were happening were so great. The audiobook is narrated by Elizabeth Nolden, who is quickly climbing up to my top favorite audiobook narrators. She is so good. She narrated Sea Witch, which is a Ursula retelling from The Little Mermaid that I listened to last year that I loved. She's so good at narrating, like especially like this kind of time era, Victorian era type thing. I just got sucked in and I loved it so much. So I picked up Court of Shadows. This book has always appealed to me because the cover is so beautiful. I think they have a new cover for the hardback possibly that matches this, and the new book coming out in a couple of days, which I'm so excited to listen to, is called Tomb of Ancients or something. It's also amazing. So I gave House of Furies like 4.5 stars, and I gave this one 5 stars. One of my new all-time favorite series. Why is nobody talking about this? Can we just have a quick chat? Because my friend Taylor also read it and she loved it just as much as I did, and I have no clue why no one's talking about it other than the fact that probably they haven't read it. I don't know what it is, but I keep thinking about this series and I immediately want to listen to them again or read them. Now, these books are kind of cool, so the downside to listening on audio is that you kind of miss out. There's like a few like pictures and really cool chapter headers and some creepy things in here, like the tree, that you'll miss out, but it's nothing major, nothing that's like vital to the story. It just kind of gives it like a creepier feel. This one's also narrated by Elizabeth Nolden, who I believe narrates the next one that's coming out soon, which I have requested, and I can't wait. I'm so excited. So perfect for fall and Halloween. This is gonna go on that list of recommendations like coming up. I love this. You guys need to read this. This is gonna be one that I'm gonna push because I don't understand why more people haven't read it. Like, so good. The writing is so good. It makes me want to read her Asylum series, which I had no interest in whatsoever because it's about a girl in an asylum. That just sounds really way too scary, but I'm going to try it because I loved the way that she did everything in here and tied everything together. And there was a lot more Fae in the second book, which was super cool. Things that happened were amazing, and things that we learned were great. It was good, you guys. It was really freaking good. This might be my favorite audiobook set of the year so far. I can't decide, but I literally keep thinking about them, and it's one of those things that I call a drop everything book, where it doesn't matter like what I'm reading or what I'm doing. When I get this book in on overdrive, I'm gonna drop everything. I'm gonna do a video on that, on like my drop everything books. But I truly loved it. So 4.5 for House of Furies and 5 stars for Court of Shadows. Yay for my April TBR shelf, because who knows how long I would have put this off otherwise. So success. Correction. These are narrated by Billie Fulford Brown. So I'm sorry I kept saying Elizabeth Nolden because I love her a lot. But Billie Fulford Brown is the narrator for both of these. Then, I don't know if you guys watched my audiobook-a-thon reading vlog, but I have been majorly into gardening. I have been fixing up my front yard to look beautiful with flowers. My Jeff built me a garden, so I have things growing in there. If you guys are interested in gardening, I'll go watch that audiobook-a-thon reading vlog. The second one should be up pretty soon. If it's not already, I'll link them again up here in the corner. But I've been doing like all kinds of gardening and planting. I've been getting like plant books and spending all my time outside. That's how I listened to a lot of audiobooks this month, is I just listened while I gardened because I was having a great time. So because of that, I was just like, man, I don't want to listen to anything dark again or fantastical. I want to listen to something more springy. So I picked up Splintered by A.G. Howard for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons. One, it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling where the lead character, can talk to bugs. Perfect for spring. It's been on my spring to read list for 2 or 3 years, and I just read Stained by A.G. Howard in January and loved it so much. So this one is narrated by Rebecca Gible, who was okay. Honestly, she was not that great of a narrator. One of those cases where she did really good with her male voices, but not so good with her female voices. And if I hadn't been gardening and like into the story, I probably would have just picked it up and physically read it, but it was fine. I kind of dragged on towards the end because it was like a 12-hour audiobook. But I did really enjoy it. It was really fun. I like Alice in Wonderland retellings. It wasn't like my favorite ever and I did kind of zone out, but I probably will continue on with the series because I have the second book and I'm interested in reading it as a whole, but it was absolutely perfect for spring. I think I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars overall because it was enjoyable, but it wasn't like my new all-time favorite. So if you like Alice in Wonderland or if you're in a springy mood, this is a great one. I just randomly decided to pick up Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen, narrated by Rachel Botchan. So I was like, I'm just gonna give a contemporary romance a try. And this is about a girl that learns to ride a bike. That was how it was pitched to me. And it was like her summer vacation. So I thought that might be good for, I don't know, spring, summertime vibes. The narrator, again, wasn't my favorite. She was slightly better than the splintered narrator, but I didn't just like love her. I did really enjoy the writing style of this, so I am curious to start to listen to some more of Sarah Dessen, but it has a lot of those tropes that I really, really hate in contemporary, where there's a lot of talk about like divorce and parents fighting, and then the dad in this is kind of a jerk, and I'm really sick. The last like few contemporary books I've read, the male dad father figures are awful and I'm sick of it. I want to read a nice male father figure book again, and I just don't like where that's like where the drama is headed. There was not as much romance in this as I expected. It was a lot more about like her relationship with her parents and her stepmother and making new friends, doing her summer right because she grew up with very intellectual parents and she wasn't really like a kid in her teen years as much as she wanted. So this is her senior year and she goes to live with her stepdad and decides to kind of be a little bit more on the wild side, like nothing major, but do some more fun things, and she doesn't know how to ride a bike. The romance in this is very small. Riding the bike portion is very small, in my opinion, at least. It was okay. I liked the writing style and I did get attached to the characters, but I got a little sick of all the drama. It just is kind of contemporary. I like my drama to be fantastical and not just everyday stuff. But I did really like her new friends that she made. That was really interesting, and I liked some of the lessons that she learned. So overall, I gave this one 3 stars. Okay, so as I've mentioned in several other videos, Jeff and I have been staying up late and watching Survivor from season 1. We're now on season 5, totally into it. We've been building fires outside and watching Survivor, which I put in my audiobook-a-thon vlog. So much fun, amazing. So because of that, and because of my spring summery type mood, I wanted to listen to something like survival-y. And then Looks and Lala put up a camping recommendations book video. So I picked I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. This one is narrated by Amy Mcfadden. Amy Mcfadden narrated something that I listened to last year that I didn't really like love that much. Again, I thought she did a good job and I enjoyed her more than the splintered narrator and the Along for the Ride narrator. So this is a survivalist story about a young girl whose mom dies and she winds up having to go live with her dad in the Alaskan wilderness, and then something happens and she has to survive in the Alaskan wilderness with whatever set of skills that she has. And she has a leg injury that might be permanent from a car accident that she also has to overcome. And I don't want to give away too much more because it's basically her journaling about trying to survive. So this was absolutely perfect for the mood that I was in. It was not quite as intense as I was wanting in the ways I was wanting, because there was some drama that was happening that wasn't necessarily survival related that was a little bit unnecessary, but that might have just been my mood because I was wanting most of the drama to come from her like trying to survive in the woods. And she has this cool dog Bo that's, I think it was Bo, that was with her, and she's just journaling about trying to stay alive. So it was cool. It was interesting. The ending was a little bit lackluster for me. I'm not sure if it's one that I would ever like read again because all of the intensity and the tension, you know, was built up. Again, we have another terrible male father figure in here for the most part, which was kind of unfortunate, but it got a little bit more gruesome than I was expecting. Definite trigger warnings for like animal cruelty per se. She has to like eat animals to survive and she skins them and stuff, and it is not like overly detailed, but if you're sensitive at all to that, she, you know, she's got to skin a rabbit to stay alive, so that's in there. So stay away if you're not able to handle that. Other than that, I did really enjoy it, and it was very different than anything else that I have ever read, so that was a plus. I hope to do a survivalist recommendations video sometime this summer, because I thought that would be cool, like survivalist themed, because we're just so into survival right now and it's so much fun. But I really enjoyed it. I think, again, I'm giving this one 3.5 stars. Then I listened to Starry by Jenn Bennett, narrated by Amy Bentley. This one came up on, I requested it because it came out last year, and I got my hold in on Overdrive, and this is about a girl and her ex-boyfriend who go on a camping trip, wind up having to survive in the California wilderness together. So I was like, ooh, perfect. It's like contemporary, it's summer, it's survivally and campy, amazing. And I've been wanting to listen to Jenn Bennett for a while. So this one, kind of like the other three, it was enjoyable. The narrator was okay. Terrible male father figure, just awful, which I was just totally sick of at this point because I'd listened to so many of them. There were the dads and stuff were just the worst. The love story was interesting. I don't know, it was a little more graphic than I was expecting for a young adult novel, like nothing major. I was just kind of like, wow, okay. I didn't like the friend drama that happened in the camp. So our main character basically decides to go on a camping trip with her friend and some other people, and she doesn't know that her ex-boyfriend's going. That's kind of all you need to know. And then something happens and they have to kind of survive. But it's a contemporary love story, so the survival aspect is very minimal. You're never like actually afraid of anything. Like things happen, but it's like quirky and silly, and the monologue of the main character is a bit more on the immature side. So again, this is a young adult novel, so I'm not necessarily the target audience. I'm not a major contemporary fan. I do like a good contemporary love story occasionally. I love To All the Boys I Loved Before. I love like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but some of these newer ones just aren't clicking with me, and I'm not really sure why, because I've read these other ones when I was older as well. I feel like if you really love contemporary stories and camping stories and things like that, then you'll really like this one. It just, again, wasn't my favorite. It's not my favorite genre, and I'm just super, super picky about my contemporary love stories. And I was still kind of wanting more of the camping stuff and more of the survivalist stuff than what I got, which is my own fault, my own expectations. But it did take over half the book for the like surviving in the California wilderness stuff to start, which was not my fault because it was pitched kind of weird. So I wound up giving this one 3 stars as well. I just realized I saved like all my 3-star books for the end, and I shouldn't have done that, but sorry guys. Okay, then lastly, I listened to First Life by Jenna Showalter. The narrator for this one was Emma Galvin. This was also on that Barnes & Noble April TBR shelf. So this was the 4th book that I wound up listening to and reading. I actually read 150 pages of this before I switched to audio. I read them really fast, but I just decided I wanted to switch to audio because I was in the middle of it and I was gardening, and I was like, let's just do the audio. I actually thought she did a better job. At first I was like, ooh, I don't know. But I think overall she did a pretty good job with this one, and she did a really good male, like Scottish or Irish accent. This is technically a sci-fi book in the future, but you have to sign up with one part, with one group or the other. So either Troika or Myriad, and you have to decide that before your second life, I think, and that will determine how the rest of your second life will go. And our main character refuses to decide, and so they put her in like an asylum type thing. It is weird. It is not what I expected. I was super stoked to read this because first of all, it's beautiful, and that concept sounded amazing to me. The concept was good. And I did like a lot of the politics and a lot of the thought that went into designing the world, and I'm sure it gets more the further on the books go. However, the writing style got to me. It was this one had that younger feel to it. Again, young adult but I usually don't have problems with that. It just had a lot of like kitschy lines and jokes and like things that I felt like were inappropriate for the story. Like something really dark and terrible would happen, and then someone would make a joke that was just so the other way. It felt like it didn't fit, where I'm okay with the jokes and like humor and stuff like that, but it just didn't go with how intense the story was supposed to be. There's like a way to do it, and this one didn't quite work for me. So I kept finding myself when certain lines would be said, I'd just be like rolling my eyes. And I don't know what it was, because I've read other books with similar styles and similar fast-pacedness, and it didn't bother me. Like Shatter Me is kind of like that with their humor sometimes, where there'll be like ridiculous like teenager-y lines in there, and it doesn't bug me. But this one, just like the language and the, I don't know, the insults and things, I didn't like how they talk to each other. We'll put it that way. The love story was okay. I'm still on the fence whether I should read or listen to book 2 or 3. I just have so many other things, and this one is the only one that I physically owned. So that was kind of nice. Reading and audiobook purposes. I just didn't love it. Let me know if you guys really enjoy the series as a whole, and I will continue on with it. But for now, I feel like it's kind of fine where it is, even though it leaves off on a cliffhanger. Because I don't know that I cared that much, and I don't know if I can stand the language between the characters. So we'll see. I wound up giving this one 3 stars. I might lower it depending on how I feel in a couple weeks, but 3 stars at the moment. And I am glad that I read it, so yay. Okay, so I'm sure this video is super long. Sorry about that. I just had a lot of thoughts and opinions on a lot of these books. You can watch me in my audiobook-a-thon part 1 and part 2, listen to all of these while I'm like doing things. I think I already put that up here in the little cards if you guys want to watch the reading process for some of these. Unfortunately, a lot of them were pretty average, but nothing that I hated, so that was good. Pretty amazing audiobook reading month. Honestly, just the Court of Shadows and House of Furies alone made it feel like an amazing reading month for me. I didn't get to a few things I wanted to, but so goes life. Let me know if you guys listen to anything that you really liked this month down below in the comments. Did you participate in Audiobook-a-thon? I had a great time. It's one of my new favorite readathons just because I like listening to audiobooks. It's easy and you can do a bunch of stuff while you listen to them. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time on the bright side. Bye!